looking for a future that I wanna see. There's no one else I'd rather share this with. Nobody knows my imperfections quite as perfectly. You guessed it, it is you that I'm thinking of when we're apart. You're my searchlight when I'm in the dark. It is true. I'd give it all, I'd give my heart. You're my searchlight when I'm in the dark, when I'm in the dark.
Welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. Today you are joining us for a Mountain West match. We have got Boise State ready to go up against the Wyoming Cowboys. Should be a very fun match as Boise State is currently undefeated right now in their Mountain West matchup. So we'll see if they can continue on that winning streak. I'm your host, Jacob Palmer, and I am joined by none other than Richard Pontillo, or Rich Rad, as many of you might know him. He is coming to us remotely. And Rich Rad, I should give kind of a little bit of an update. Boise State missed the first match, so we're actually going to be starting out on the second control, which means we're hybrid, which means we're guaranteed to see push. Thoughts on that, and you know what that could mean?
I mean, it's exciting to always see push. You know, we don't get to see it, I think, as often sometimes, or when we do get to see it, it seems to always lend into at least Esperanza, but there has been some Coliseo in selection, kind of rotated into the push map, which is very nice. Wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see new Queen Street, since it really is one of those moments where a lot of teams haven't really delved into it specifically, but I'm just excited to see how this continues to unfold as we've already got that first map underway.
All right, we'll be ready to head into the first stage, but no matter what stage is chosen, these players are going to want to try to play at their very best. That's why we've got Doc's keys to the game ready to go. And the keys to the game in Overwatch is never to take a fair fight. That means to take fights in unexpected places when your opponents are unprepared, and of course try to leverage as much tempo as you can get. It's all brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you are new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. Boise State having to drop a game. This will give one over to Wyoming. It means Boise State will have choice of what hybrid stage they want to go on. And that could change things up a little bit. You know, Boise State, sometimes they go with the standard Kings Row opener on hybrid. But normally Boise State, we've seen them in the Mountain West come out to strong starts. And that forces the other team to pick. And that usually leads to us seeing Kings Row over and over again when the other team has the choice. So now that Boise State has the choice, a bit of a wild card as to what we might see. I think there might be a very strong possibility we see Eichenwalds. I think the Broncos have a penchant for that.
Well, and the other part, too, is when it comes to being down at one map at this point, we've seen Boise State continue to be a dominant force week after week. You and I, over the course of these last few, we had Spring Break, of course, just this recent one, but previously to that, we got to see how well-rounded Boise State has been on this map specifically, and just overall against their opponents in this Mountain West region. So even with that little bit of a handout, I could say, in some respects to the opponent, I think this is still going to be a tall task for them to try and take down Boise State, as we've even talked about before, of the significance of their success within this specific region of the Mountain West because of their history and previous number of titles.
A look at where things stand currently. Boise State has a 7-0 record. Their main rival and main contender for making it to the finals, UNLV, sitting at 8-1. Boise State had a bye. That's why they're behind one game. So this could make it so both the top two teams in the Mountain West have 8 wins to their name. We'll see if Boise State can indeed do that as we're ready to see our debut here on Kings Row. Also, Richard, just in case you or anyone watching didn't know, we actually got new decals for the exterior of the arena.
Ooh.
The windows are looking beautiful, and it's none other than the Overwatch team that are plastered on the windows to the arena now, facing the street. So, yeah, let's hope that this kind of debut thing of them getting even more exposure, they can give us a good show. Anyone who might wander into the arena because they see them, let's make sure they're doing their best.
100%. Let them be recognized for their competitive prowess and compared to many of those within this area. As you can see already, some nice defensive play. We're going to have for Boise State, Sigma come out from Clear, which again, we talked about Clear not being here, but now back in the mix. It's going to be interesting to see how well they play.
Eliminations traded back and forth, but Chosen picking up a double. It's going to help Boise State go up to a one-person advantage. Clear still taking it out on point. Chosen picks up his triple, goes right into the Kariko. Ballistic bites the dust too. Now no more supports and no more healing. Their tank is trying to get away with Boise State. Get the stagger on them. Yes, indeed they will. And Boise State off to a tremendous start.
And with them taking this, already being able to eliminate those early members of this, you can look and see how fast these ultimates are being generated. Chosen specifically here, already with that pulse bomb in hand to play alongside Clear just in case there is any aggression underneath. Looking to find that hidden target that they want to specifically go for. Wouldn't be surprised if it's either lazy or ballistic.
Chosen recalls on out. Oh, he's ambushed by Wyoming's tank. Has to recall on out of there. Has the pulse bomb ready to go. Look at Moose right there. Gets one for Boise State against Ballistic. Already, Boise State has been really good at focusing down the supports for Wyoming, taking away all that healing. Now the tank's going to bite the dust as well. And we had a swap over to the Widowmaker, but she got taken out very fast as well. Boise State not losing too many except for Large Bagel with a nice railgun shot from Famous Redmond.
I mean, and the biggest thing is that there's enough space and time bought into this, and also with Foxtrot having the Widowmaker in this, they can't play as dive or aggressive in that sense because they're looking for those important picks, especially with how Clear is playing this high ground. So there's more than enough time for a Large Bagel to get back, but they need to be careful and top up Clear before they look for this engagement because they have now 3 ultimates going to be online.
Oh, Moose is being sneaky, throws out the steel trap, concussion mine, moves back toward the point, and man, he just melted down the tank. Now it's bringing out the Riptire against Wyoming. He's going hunting, it gets taken out in the air by Foxtrot. Hey, you know, I gotta give special kudos to Foxtrot. That's quite some reaction time. Widowmaker flick right there.
Yeah, being able to just take that out. Again, it was already a winning fight in that sense for Boise State, but being able to at least deny that, getting some of these shots, and taking down Daydream is huge right now. You lose a lot of that effective healing. Also, the most important part is the Immortality field is Clear's got to play forward.
Clear slowly moving toward Violet, moving up the stairs menacingly at a slow pace with Gravitic in tow. And Ballistic gets taken out by Clear. This tank, Wyoming just can't find any support or grouping up. And Boise State is just focusing down Wyoming one at a time.
And this is one of the big things that we've noticed about Boise State, you know, consistently, is they've always been so great at being able to isolate and find separate individuals from the team that if Wyoming isn't going to play as a tight-knit group, they will be picked up repeatedly, and it's continuing to happen.
Boise State now moving in, and it's just wiping out the enemy team. Just look away for 1 second, and Wyoming is completely gone. Boise State gets another hold and has the Cowboys down to just half a minute.
Foxtrot has to get something big here, or we need to see this tempo control. But there's a takedown already.
Boise, oh man, look at that javelin though, landing right into Moose. Don't know if it's going to be enough to turn around though. Clear is going to use his Gravitic to just zone out the Cowboys. It forces them to use their beat. We see Overclock being brought out by Famous. He gets eliminated. Chosen with 2 melees, picks up another double. The final few seconds tick down to Wyoming. I doubt anyone is going to be able to get a touch on the point. Moose with this Riptire as further zoning. Insurance upon insurance. And Boise State wins their hold on Kings Row.
And that's a big pickup here for Chosen because those 2 eliminations are so significant. If they don't come out as cleanly as they do there is a numbers advantage possibility that can come through by Wyoming to counteract and play against Boise. But just having that Tracer consistently be a thorn in the side, find those vulnerable members with the initial damage that's coming through. And Clear's also contributing a lot to this. Those auto attacks are really dwindling the health value on Wyoming, making it much more challenging for them to have a dominant presence up front to try and counteract against this. And that's really what Chosen plays here, this critical role of being able to find those weak members in the back line despite the chaos that's happening and still having focus. The pulse bomb doesn't land, but regardless, as I mentioned, those 2 kills come in so swiftly afterwards that it doesn't matter.
Boise State now ready to move on attack. They only need 1 tick. They will have reset this game, making it a 1-1 overall. And we'll move on to a flashpoint with a sprint in their step. And when they've normally been leading into Flashpoint or come out with a win into Flashpoint, they usually pick up that round pretty fast as well. And we're also going to see, it looks like Wyoming is still sticking on their Orisa, but they're bringing out a Bastion to start their defense.
And it'll be interesting to see how Boise State's going to be able to react to that. Because, ooh, I love the player cam. That's just a nice little side note. You were talking about them being plastered on the outside. Now we get them plastered here in game.
Yeah.
As I agree with you, though, talking about the Bastion and what Foxtrot's going to be able to bring to the table here. I've seen Foxtrot before, though, on this Bastion, and it can be really devastating. The big thing is Wyoming is just going to need to make sure that they give coverage so pickups like this don't happen.
Large Bagel gets 1 pickup. Moose gets another onto the Bastion. This tank now has not too much support behind him. Clear just hiding behind the shield to any damage Orisa's trying to put on him. and just waits it out. Support from Chosen helps him melt down all that health. Moose picks up a double on the remaining 2 Cowboys, and that is a done deal for Boise State on Kings Row. They win the round.
Quick, clean, and surgical. Easy peasy here for Boise State, being on a map that we've seen them time and time again be able to play with such... It almost looks like just pure confidence. Like, they just know at this point exactly how to maneuver on this map, and it's because of not only their repetition, but it's also, I think, being able to just have this sort of synergy with the team. And now with Clear back here again, we did have that conversation weeks ago where it wasn't Clear a part of the team due to them being a part of the Overwatch Championship Series, but now starting to just really lean back into the group, get in the wave right there. We see it. Absolutely, it's exciting to see him back on there. The stage with everyone.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Clear has a lot to brag about. I mean, when he was with DAF in the Overwatch Pacific, they're in the winners finals. They just made it through undefeated and have already qualified for the Asian finals as well. So he's got a lot to be proud of coming back to Boise, though, like he hasn't missed a beat. And now we go moving on toward Flashpoint. That usually means Servasta. That usually means Boise State. Definitely has a lot in their wheelhouse. They normally like to sweep Servasta, and I really think it's just because Lucio is picked so often on Servasta, and Bagel just knows Lucio like the back of his hand. I mean, he is just
100%.
insane on what he can do.
I mean, I still remember from years now, being able to commentate and talk about a large bagel specifically on their Lucio. I still have just like old fond memories on Lijiang Tower, the loadouts that we would see, getting those multi-boops off the edge from all range of competition, even in contenders. So it's going to be a thrill to see it once again. And, I want to touch a little bit back further, as you mentioned about Clear and just being in that atmosphere and the level of competitive play. And I think that's a really significant factor to also bring to this, because when you have a player that goes, and takes this type of adventure to where they're playing at the highest level, that what that means to the rest of the players on the team. And now they can start understanding, at that level as well, what kind of teachings and learning opportunity is there for Clear to dispense this type of information, and what he himself has been able to take away from that experience to make this team even more refined and capable as a solid unit.
I know Doc is just beaming on the inside, not just because Boise State got a good win on Kings Row, but just how clean those player cams look. He was actually showing that off to me yesterday. Just, we've all got this great setup. We're going to be able to do so many cool things with it, and to see it come through fruition, I know he's happy on multiple accounts right now.
Oh, I mean, when you can continue to upgrade a broadcast package like this and have it to be this caliber, I mean, comparison to many universities across the country and being, I would say, some of the top quality that we have coming out of Boise State, that is a massive opportunity. And always having that desire of like forever growth and just that mindset of consistent development is what you really, really want to focus on. And I'm excited. Like I said, you saw my elated expression when I saw the cams pop up in the first place.
Always a new surprise to be had about how things are being plussed around Boise State's production. But let's get to the actual gameplay as we start out on Servasta. Boise State going up against the Cowboys. Cowboys still deciding to stick on that bastion that they brought out for defense last time. Boise State, though, Clear has moved on over to the Doomfist. I don't believe we've seen too much Doomfist from him. Usually we've seen Junker Queen on Servasta.
There were very rare occasions where we would see it when it at least came from the Overwatch Championship Series, that even when it came to EU really adopting this towards the later portion of it, because it did find value, and there's already a massive shift of momentum here.
It's a complete shift of momentum. A team kill for Boise State. Clear got the last elimination there, but it was all the damage that Chosen and Moose especially was peppering Boise State with this full for Mercy. This is going to be nasty for Wyoming, because Boise State can just get a bird's eye view of all the chokes that Wyoming might try to push through. Their Bastion taking a bit of damage is going to be able to heal up, but Wyoming having a difficult route ahead of them, trying to push forward. Eureka goes forward, but then gets pushed back down to about half health. Barrage coming online. Chosen eliminated by Ballistic. He's getting some good hits against Wyoming, but he can't get the final blows. Wyoming, their team is hanging on in there, and Foxtrot shoots him right out of the sky. A res will be bought out by Daydream onto Chosen, but now the Bastion is starting to pile up eliminations as well. Wyoming slowly but surely is making their way over to the point, but with that elimination by Chosen and Bagel, Boise State might have just held this flashpoint as they pass 80%. This tank gone for Wyoming, and that's a clear hold for Boise State.
The biggest thing comes out from a large Bagel and clear. They're able to sustain because you lose Chosen and forces out the res from Daydream, and because there's no healing, Moose can't do anything, and they're going to continue to hold here as they enter into the overtime.
Meteor strike available by Clear. Might not even need it, although that's a huge grenade thrown out by Foxtrot, picking himself up a double. Boise State is very low on health. Chosen bites at us. Clear has a Meteor strike. Solos onto Foxtrot. Isn't able to pick up the elimination. Cowboys have stolen the point back from Boise State. Clear is a bit of revenge, just focuses everything he has onto Foxtrot. Violet Dart lands the hold onto Daydream. And now Wyoming, successful hold at the point, is barely holding on, is forced out Boise State's barrage, and they're beat, and the barrage comes flying through with a double. Boise State now just has 2 more Cowboys to clear out, and they will control this flashpoint yet again. There it is from Clear and a large Bagel. Boise State takes it back with 99, and that'll most certainly give them the first point in the round.
And this just shows the expertise from a large Bagel. That pixel-perfect rounding sound barrier just to get within range of Clear through the doorway, to make sure that there is that protective shell. Though, in moments like this, the little bit of red at Lucio starts to come out aggressively.
I mean, he got eliminated, but he went down with glory to get a pick. But now Wyoming has a 2-person advantage. Boise State, though, taking advantage of winning the first flashpoint. They have been able to rotate over faster and all. This is quite a size differential here between Clear and the Tracer, but now has to go up against the whole team. Doesn't like the look of that 5-on-1. Is pushed off the payload, and Wyoming will probably take it as the clock ticks down to 0. Clear now moving in, and now reinforcements have arrived. Moose picks off famous Kitsune Rush, and what a hack onto Wyoming! It hits all of them. Boise State, can they get eliminations off this? Moving in for the Resurrect is going to be able to get Chosen, Moose, and Daydream. Now, Moose and Chosen now getting eliminations of their own. Chosen gets yet another one onto Violet Dart, and Boise State, even though Wyoming was Clear as a team, Clear held on just long enough for the team to reset, and when they came back in, they just wiped them out.
The good part, though, for Wyoming is that they do still have 2 ultimates that are very important. Again, it's unfortunate to see both support ultimates have been lost here, so Clear and Moose are going to be the ones that you have to keep a watchful eye on to get the Meteor Strike and also this Rocket Barrage. But, oh, Jiminy Christmas, he's going in.
Oh, Clear. He's going after the Cassidy again. He still hasn't forgotten what happened on Flashpoint 1. Clear needs to chill out here, but he is not going to. Trying to go into the backline to get a pick, but it might have been a ruse as Moose comes in right behind him with the barrage. Is going to focus down that Kariko. Post bomb being thrown back onto Clear. Boise State has lost their tank. They still have control of the point, and look at all this space they're making for Wyoming. We are nowhere near the Flashpoint, and Boise State is past 75.
And with this very little time to get back onto the point, I almost feel like Wyoming has to abandon this and just really look for a regroup, because they're being pushed back all the way to their spawn, and they need to look for just this next flashpoint because they can't even leave confidently to go in for a contest. There's one touching the point, so now it's a rush back for Boise.
2, it's Tank and one of their supports, but their days are numbered. Moose and Clear move in, do a little bit of cleanup work. Boise State comes on back to take the point, and will move on to the final one to end this 3-0 if they can claim this next flashpoint.
Tensions begin to rise here for Wyoming. The Cowboys need to be very careful in how they play in this, and this crossing to the next point is going to be very challenging, and when you get Foxtrot left out in the open, that's free pickings for that bird itself.
Daydream went very low on health, as did Chosen. Daydream gets a little bit of more healing, though, passively to help get her back up to full health. Now Chosen, just with all the time that's gone by, Boise State is back up like nothing happened. We might have a bit of a tech pause coming out for a DC. That's the way it happens. But one thing I kind of noticed, Richrad, is I am seeing a lot more plays come out by Wyoming. Specifically, you know, if Boise State extends too far, you know, we see Clear with the penchant for going after these backline squishies, sometimes solo ulting onto the Cassidy. Like when he has a target, he doesn't want to let go. But Wyoming has been doing more and more to make sure that they're picking up doubles and go into fights with actually 1 or 2 person advantages.
And that's one of the biggest things here is that they're attempting to try and take advantage of the way that Boise is playing. And it's very challenging because Clear is going to play that role of causing disruption and really trying to set the pace on tempo, just diving in first, getting that backline aggression, and how Wyoming is going to have to react on the fly. And that could become very challenging because you have these rockets coming from up top. You have a hack that's also going to synergize well between the two of them. A lot of communication I would see most likely if I were to listen in on the comms between Chosen, Clear, and Large Bagel, as they are the most swift to maneuver to find an opportunity and leave basically that turret shooting in the sky. So this methodology behind Wyoming trying to get these isolated players and moments of where there is some minor weakness or potential disjointedness is great. It's just still becoming a challenge because even though Boise State is sometimes being caught out, either the meteor strike is there if they need to use it defensively, or there's just a lot of understanding of the architecture to reposition out of those very unfavorable engagements.
Also, when you think about it, you look, there's a lot of pressure. I think more, I mean, always the pressure is kind of mainly going on to the tank because they're the front line. But with Clear being on this kind of more of this divey hero, this Doomfist, which is going in, trying to get those quick picks, there really isn't any other form of CC available from Wyoming to shut that Doomfist down. It places a lot of pressure for those javelins to land. Boise, and they just haven't been able to get it. They do get a melee, though, right onto Moose. Daydream gets taken out as well. 2 quick melees. Ballistic piles it on, getting Chosen. Boise State, it's only going to be a Large Bagel on this Baptiste, who's going to be able to sneak. Granted, a few points back onto Boise State. Clear now goes moving in. Can they shut him down? Just like I was saying, Amplification Matrix goes up, but the Tracer's blinking all around him, trying to land the shot, and it's enough for the Javelin to hit a Large Bagel. Rez comes in as Daydream is off of the respawn. Clear moves in, takes out Kariko. We're getting a fist fight and a hack onto 2 of Wyoming, and that hack getting Boise State just enough time to take all the abilities away from Wyoming, move in with a triple for Chosen, and the Flashpoint gets taken back.
The swap from a Large Bagel onto the Baptiste is what saves them in that fight. You are able to get the Immortality field out just in time, which puts back Famous Redman to not be able to get the execution on top of Violet attempting to try and spear spin him out of it, but it just doesn't work. And now you have this influx of damage of long-range hit scan and getting ballistic.
Oh, goodness. He just peeks out around the corner. 1 shot to the head, and he's not done. He has a barrage, too, to take down the Kariko. A double. Boise State is going hunting, getting greedy, and greed is good because every single person they're going after, they're picking up. Now they're past 95%. Most likely, securing Servasta and the Flashpoint. There's just 1 left trying to get a sneaky touch on the point, but they're hacked, taken down, and Boise State wins Servasta.
That's just a feels bad kind of moment. You're attempting to go with Coalescence on the point. You're just instantly. Oh, rest in peace for sure, as now you're going to see the play coming out from the Farah. No surprise here. There's a couple of really, really great moments with either just the direct rockets or the rocket barrage in and of itself. It causes just so much problem because realistically, there was no one to really combat it. Famous Redman was the only one that had the hit scan viable to try and counteract against the Farah, but when there's so much happening with the Doomfist and unable to really get those shots off cleanly, it's basically like a rock in a hard place. You have to be able to either get those shots fast enough onto the Farah or try and melt Clear, and neither of those were working out for them. So going into this moving forward, now that we're going to be entering onto push map, I'm really interested to see what Clear is going to bring to the table, especially once we do have the definitive answer on what map we're going to go to. But it's looking really dire right now, where it's just constantly these moments that you do see Wyoming being able to at least seem to find a foothold. It becomes shaky only moments after.
Well, I already got your Rich Red. I'm looking at the map pool that Mountain West has for their push maps. It's going to be either Coliseo, Esperanza, or New Queen Street.
Okay. All right. And like I said, I have a feeling we're not going to go to New Queen Street. That's the one that has been very underselected. And it was interesting because when it came to tier 1, when we're talking about Overwatch Championship Series, there was a lot more heavily into Esperanza, but Coliseum kind of rose to the surface when we got to see it later on in the portion of the stages. I was, a part of the Ex Oblivione co-stream when I was talking through that towards the ending portion through the losers bracket, also into the grand finals. Coliseum had presented itself. There was a lot of this utility when it came to either the Malga, even when it came to Sigma as well, that was brought into it uniquely enough. That neutral fight is something to always keep an eye on when we look at Coliseum, but that in same regards is why we sometimes don't see it, because you can basically hold a team there the entire time. And that's where we also start to see this type of variation of sojourns being brought into the mix, or hit scans of other sorts, because you need to get those picks in that neutral engagement to try and break away from that consistent cycle of sustainability.
Quick look up on stage. You can see Daydream closest to the camera. I think that's chosen on the far side. And now here's just a quick look at a recap of what we were seeing beforehand. And you were mentioning we could see, the utility being brought by the Maga or the Sigma. We've already seen Sigma from Boise State.
Yeah.
Clear. Sigma's not quite as mobile as Doomfist. But the way Clear was playing, there just seemed to be no difference. He was always in the face of Wyoming.
100%. Or the other one, realistically, that comes to mind now, again, as we're talking about Clear specifically, is the Ramatra. That is a very viable pick. And the Ramatra I have seen on multiple occasions from Clear just being so well understood, knowing how to really utilize the defensive nature of that, the shield placement, and going into that Nemesis form. And then once you start getting into the synergy of the Annihilation to reproc that Nemesis, it's so critical to understand those micro types of plays throughout engagements like this. That's also something I would really like to see. And if they do want to go to Coliseum, which isn't the typical, at least more recently, then that's something that Claire can feel very comfortable on if we see that moving into this, because the Ram in that neutral fight can just basically turret mode and sit there and put out a ton of damage with that auto fire.
Boise State picking up a win in Kings Row and Esperanza. They are one away from claiming yet another win, adding to their undefeated record currently for the Mountain West. And if you're wondering where we are currently in the Mountain West, we're playing a Week 9 match. This was rescheduled, but we were able to get the match this week with Wyoming. And we go all the way up to Week 14. So we're in the latter half, with finals happening early April. So very soon we're going to be crowning another champion. And if you've been joining us throughout the season, you know that this season is the one to break the Grand Championship tie record. UNLV has won the championship 3 times, and Boise State has won it 3 times, but one of those teams might be able to break that tie and be the undisputed Mountain West champions as we go on to Coliseum as the pick.
As I take a look here, just from over top, I saw Doomfist in the grouping, but we'll see if that holds true. But yes, Coliseum, like I mentioned, something that's really driven into recent selection. And again, once you start breaking away from this, the nice thing when it comes from at least like a methodology standpoint is that when you get out of this neutral fight, even if you don't, let's say, get to the first checkpoint and you are even close to it towards those arches, you can always have more than enough time to get back to this neutral and continue to hold here. As Clear salutes to those that are watching and is ready to put on a show as we see what the lock-in's gonna be from Boise State here. I'm waiting to see if I had my foresight locked in, my crystal ball, to see what the tank selection's gonna be. And I'm like just crossing my fingers to see if I do truly know Clear. Oh, wait. Okay, so we've got a Winston play here? Okay, Clear's gonna throw, but again, this is no surprise either. Winston was very heavily selected when we talk a lot about competitive play in that region.
Dark alley, you do not want to run into a big hulking gorilla in that dark alley. A bit of a flank coming out from Violet Dart, trying to take out Clear. He is backed up by one of the support, but all the attention is now going on to Clear. They're caught in this doorway, however, with the pedal working against them, just blocking it further. And Boise State has kept Wyoming off, has diverted their attention off away from the robot. Boise State gets an early push, moved on into the back line though. Clear is still there, going after the low house supports. Will he be able to get this? Lucio trying to move on in. He's life ripped on out of there. Boise State having his back, even though Clear is even if he's far away from his team, Boise State is still finding a way to get these heals and life grips to go through. As they move on in, a lot of damage placed onto the Cassidy. Foxtrot will be able to re-heal back up. Violet Dart down to 1. Clear takes him out with the help of with the help of Moose. Boise State has traded 1-1 with Wyoming. Ballistic going back down on health. Chosen picks up a double. Moving on back to the robot to claim it. They'll get it back to the first point and get their first true, I would say, forward push.
And I feel there's going to be a massive partnership between Claire and a large bagel in this, because one of the nice things about this Lifeweaver Winston combination is that you can play aggressively, drop the bubble, and if you need a get out of jail free card, that's exactly what the Lifeweaver brings to this, but maybe the cooldown of the jump doesn't come back fast enough.
We're pushing the barricade.
Primal Rage has been brought out, and Boise State getting right into Foxtrot's face, beating back every single hero. The Lucio took a hit as well. Moving on in, throws down the orb, moves back, not even taken below half health, even though he's playing so in the face of the Cowboys. Wyoming trying to hold on this bridge. Moving through, teleport up by Daydream, can't land any sort of, they're looking for any possible flanks, and Boost cakes out Violet Dart with the tank down for Wyoming. That's going to be even more ground gain for the Broncos.
Big. Okay. The fact that the Lifeweaver's down in this recovery, famous Redman starting to step up right now. They are causing contention, but this fight isn't over yet, with Clear continuing to at least just contest against this bot, but I don't know how much longer Clear's going to be able to hold on to this. Oh, they force out the sound barrier! Oh my gosh, that's so amazing.
I don't know if you could hear it from the microphone. There was a high-pitched scream that rang out throughout the arena at that moment, but Clear still managed to survive. And Boise State has gotten 64 meters exactly on their first push. The robot is back in the center. Wyoming doesn't actually get any forward progress. They're going to meet yet again dead center in the arena. Wyoming starting to push forward. Lazy Ghost takes out the Torb turret. Large Bagel, first pick of the fight onto Foxtrot. The Junkrat's down. Famous Redman might be soon. They're at least going to have to force out that recall if he hasn't spent it already. Clear not even going to let that happen. Takes him out. Both DPSs have been taken out in this team fight by Boise State. Now they're moving on in. Terra Surge spent by Wyoming, but it's too little too late. It's just more to try to stay alive. In fact, they've split up the Cowboys entirely.
And with that pickup onto the Orisa, with where the bot is in the neutral fight, it's going to be easy for Boise State to be able to combat against this. They've left the bot for a brief moment, and Clear's going to take a long back angle to try and continue to keep this space, guaranteeing that they can reach this checkpoint, which is the goal for them. They will be able to generate it, and now can look not only for the closer spawn, but also really anchor on this as a safety net if anything goes awry.
Sune rush spent by Boise State as well as Immortality Field. Large Bagel is facing a bit of pressure. He's bailed out. Chosen isn't going to be able to survive. The Boise State did manage to take out Ballistic, so it's still very much a winnable fight, especially as Foxtrot is taken out by Moose. They're pushing the tank back so low on health. Violet Dart trying to hold in there. They swapped over to the Diva, but look at this. Another ultimate being spent by the Winston. Primal Rage just keeping them right in their spawn, taking out the Lucio. Boise State rounding the final corner, going past 100 meters.
And they're in the home stretch now. Across this bridgeway, all the glory is within their grasp. And this consistent aggression by Clear is just unmatched. Nice pulse bomb and a big Suzu to protect against it.
We do have a Rip Tire being spent by Wyoming. Will it get anybody, or Boise State spotted out? Clear gets the pick before the Rip Tire can go out. It's still being hung onto by the Junkrat. Isn't going to find anyone. Large Bagel also takes out Ballistic. Violet Dart fighting a losing fight as all of their teammates have already been taken out. I think Famous Redman's the only one to still be alive when Violet Dart was just eliminated. So Boise State now just a few more meters to go, and a stagger coming out on Wyoming is going to be the last team fight of the game. They bring out the Deadeye, try and spot who are they going to get. They get bodied though by Famous Redman racing over to them, getting right in their face, and Chosen eliminated. Clear going to try to dive in, doesn't want to bite off too much, but trying to still contest the point, but everyone has fallen around him, and we have looks like another pause being brought out, but Boise State with a comfortable lead. They, I think at this point, they just got to make sure that it isn't their match to lose, and they don't be their worst enemies with the kind of lead that they have.
Yeah, just shy of last fight, one could say. There is a recovery, at least with the Kitsune Rush, but Clear not being phased by any means when it comes to either the pause or the turn of a fight, as there is a recognition of knowing know exactly where that cam is. It's almost like that celebrityness kind of kicks in a little bit. You're just like, yeah, like, hey, I've been away for a while now. I'm back here. Look at me, your friends.
Well, I remember we saw a little bit of that last month. Chosen had a little bit of a stint on the Reaper, got a complete team wipe with the Death Blossom, and then emoted along. He knew the camera was on him, so he emoted alongside the Reaper with just the shrug at the very end. So Boise State, they will showboat a little. They enjoy the theatrics of it a bit.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you're being able to play at this level of, competitive prowess, as I mentioned earlier, it's something where you can really kind of settle into. But again, with this pause, it's going to be an opportunity where there's 4 minutes left now for Wyoming. Hopefully they'll be able to get the technical issue corrected as quickly as possible so they can get back into this, so they can really start looking at what those stages forward are. And getting to that checkpoint already has been a hell of a challenge for them, for Wyoming, because they can't quite seem to break this. And every time, again, they seem to start getting a foothold when it came towards that second neutral, where it was back to the beginning, where they only gained a few amount of meters. There's either this assistance by, the support line, where they're going to get clear out with the Life Weaver, or there's going to be this flanking type of play either from the Torbjorn or even having just harassment from your second DPS. Like, there is this multi-prong attack that occurs where I just think it's, if you don't have your head on a swivel for Boise State, you're just always going to continue finding yourself cut down and cut short.
And that's kind of been the theme throughout the entire match. Even if Wyoming does get a pick or a double, goes into a fight 3-5, it's been clear either he sticks around long enough for the rest of the Broncos to respawn and they can get a full team wipe. And right now, Wyoming has gone right under our nose, has gotten another double, and it has been on to clear. So this is actually an honest-to-goodness foothold being gained by the Cowboys, pushing the robot back to center.
Yeah, I saw the frightful shrieking coming from Clear as we were getting back in the game, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they caught him out on the way out.
He had a similar situation earlier, won't be able to escape 2 times in a row. Clear now back on the fight, moving in, trying to contest this robot. There is a Bastion, though, that can place a whole bunch of damage on him in turret form, and the damage goes through this time by Violet Dart to take out Clear. 2 fights in a row now that he's been eliminated. Violet Dart and Famous Redman putting the pressure onto Boise State's DPSs. It's just the supports left, and they'll be taken out soon enough. Daydream spending a Kitsune rush on that fight as well.
It's a little unfortunate to see it. I've definitely seen Boise be able to turn a lot of these fights in moments like that, but I think it was just a subtle moment too late, but they've got 3 other to work with as they look to hold this bridgeway.
Primal Rage now spent, trying to go right up against the Bastion. Has a whole bunch of held artillery now being spent by Foxtrot, as well as the beat. And the self-destruct, the artillery rains down onto the Torb and his turret. He's gonna say, hey, we got a piece of more impressive machinery. It's our artillery, our Bastion, tearing right through your turret. And that's gonna be forward spawns claimed by Wyoming.
I mean, there's been some great recovery here, and the timing on this is so impeccable. A large bagel going down continues to stagger this out. You also got to see a lot of damage contributed from Daydream earlier on this Kiriko, but since the DPS have swapped and they have a little bit more of this fortification, oh my goodness, that's a fast Death Blossom.
I think the only Death Blossom, it was kind of more of a Death Blossom onto Assault so far up into the enemy team that Boise State just said, took 2 steps back, said okay, and then Indiana Jones style just took him out with 1 gunshot. Large Bagel evening things up, taking out the Bastion. Chosen chipping on in, getting rid of Ballistic. Violet Dart falls next. Now just about everyone, DPS's, supports, and tanks all taken out by Boise State. Robot claimed back into the blue.
And this is where things get so tragic, because you have the Death Blossom. It's a good ultimate, especially since we had that recent patch where it gave that subtle increase in damage, but it was so disconjointed. It was like just not perfectly timed to where they just get the pickup, and now they're going to continue cleaning this up. The Widowmaker gets 2 here from this swap up. It's going to be really challenging to recover from this.
They're moving in, focusing everything they can onto the Reaper. He's hanging on, trying to wraith out, but he cannot escape the fury of the Broncos. They'd already taken out his teammates. He was the lone wolf left. Boise State moving past forward spawn will now be able to get even more push, and a very crucial team fight that could win them the whole game right here. Sensei moving on in. Already have taken the Diva out of her mech. Now trying to focus down. Has self-destruct online. Doesn't even need a quick melee to take out the pilot Diva. No tank left for the Cowboys. Kitsune Rush and a self-destruct being thrown right out onto the spawn. Deadeye also picks up that Widowmaker. All their DPSs are gone. All their supports. There's just the Diva trying to come in to contest, but it's all alone and it's going to be focused down by Boise State. A lot of time, though, that they can stall out with the pilot Diva form. Moving on in, Boise State gets the pick, and it's not going to be enough. Wyoming unable to hold Boise State. They win in Coliseo and win the match.
And it's so tragic, like I mentioned. I'll dive a little bit more into it here in just a moment, but you can see that Boise State takes this. They're able to recover off of that. They find a weakness in Wyoming where they had such dominance pushing back, gaining the checkpoint, moving up the bridgeway, but it's those subtle plays where when you've got like a Death Blossom like that out in the open, all by yourself, you attempt to try and have this sneaky nature behind you to catch Boise State off guard. But with the way that they've been playing, that's too much of a risk. And that allows Boise State to completely capitalize on this, not only in numbers, but since they've lost not only the ultimate from the Death Blossom, they lose that very heavy front-loaded damage for these contests, which were actually helping them. In synergy between the Reaper and the Bastion, that's what gave so much opportunity for Wyoming. But then they lose that because they have this attempt of a sneaky backdoor play, and it really just crumbles from there. So you have to give major hats off to Boise State for, again, just allowing those moments to unfold in the way that they do and still play reserve enough to not be caught out guard.
Well, it's a great day if you're a Broncos fan. You see them get another win. They remain undefeated in the Mountain West. And we got to see Clear's triumphant return to the arena. If you didn't see him on camera, you certainly heard him in a few choice scenarios. But we will get to the top 5 plays of the game now. I'm sure Clear is in at least one of them, the way he was playing. And it's all brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. Invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have many jobs which offer a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. You can live here, work here, and serve here with the Idaho Army National Guard. You can reach out to them on Instagram at iGuardIdaho. That's going to do it for this match, though. Here are your top 5 plays. Down the supports for Wyoming, taking away all that healing. Now the tank's going to bite the dust as well. And we had to swap over to
repeatedly, and it's continuing to happen.
Boise State now moving in. And it's just wiping out the enemy team. Just look away from
the Overwatch Championship Series, that even when it came to EU really adopting this towards the later portion of it because it did find value, and there's already a massive shift of momentum.
Boise State, can they get eliminations off this? Moving in for the Resurrect is going to be able to get Chosen, Moose, and Daydream. Now, Moose and Chosen now getting eliminations up.
Since the DPS have swapped, they have a little bit more of this fortification. Oh my goodness, that's a fast Death Blossom.
I think the only Death Blossom, it was kind of more of a...
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it.
We're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disaster and feed those left in the cold. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown. Armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.